Grade 10, Chapter The Making of a Scientist. This chapter is penned by Robert Peterson. Robert Peterson was an American newspaper writer who later became a freelance author of magazine articles and books, especially on the topic of sports and scouting. He has written many articles and he has penned this story, which is very interesting and meaningful. The story is all about Richard Everett, how he became passionate to learn more about butterflies and how he did succeed in his life. Richard Everett has received the Cyril Scholar Award and the Scaring Plough Award for biochemistry and molecular biology. It was his fascination for butterflies that opened the world of science to him. From the first, he had a driving curiosity along with a bright mind. He also was fond of collecting many things. He collected coins, rocks, and fossils. How did he got interested in collecting things? Richard lived in Reading, Pennsylvania. There he could not find many friends, so he used to roam around in the woods and collect things. When Richard Everett studied in a college, he and his roommates explained the theory in an article in the Proceedings of National Academy of Science. For Richard Everett, it was the first in a long string of achievements in science and other fields, and it all started with butterflies. Richard was 22 at that time, and he explained the theory of how cells work in a paper published in the Proceedings of National Academy of Science. This valuable magazine had published the work of college students for the first time. For Richard, it was one of the many achievements that he achieved later in his life. He says that all this curiosity started with butterflies. Everett grew up in Pennsylvania and was the only child of his parents. He could have not done much there as there were very less people living there. He says that he could only do one thing alone, and that was collecting things, as he had no friends to play football or baseball. An only child, Everett grew up north of Reading, Pennsylvania, and he started collecting things. He collected rocks, fossils, and coins there. He also used to keep on staring at the stars and sometimes the whole night as he was interested in studying astronomy. So, this is how he used to spend his time at night. He was so very fond of staring at the stars that the whole night used to pass, and this is how he studied astronomy. If we read the chapter further, we learn that his mother encouraged him a lot. His mother took him on trips, bought him telescopes, microscopes, cameras, mounting materials, and other equipment, and helped him in many other ways. This is how, when he was in kindergarten, he started collecting butterflies. From the first, he had a driving curiosity along with a bright mind. He used to catch the butterflies and keep it in the jar and study them. He collected rocks, fossils, and points. He grew interested in learning so many things about them, and later on, he did the research work and became a great scientist. I was his only companion until he started school, his mother said. He lived with his mother, and his mother was his sole companion, who took utmost care of him, encouraged and supported him. By the time he was in second grade, Everett had collected all 25 species of butterflies found around his hometown. Everett's mother wrote to Dr. Oakart, and soon Everett was attaching light adhesive tags to the wings of the monarchs. Anyone who found a tagged butterfly was asked to send the tag to Dr. Oakart. This is what he started doing when he grew up. Now, how did he learn about monarch butterflies and how he got passionate to know more about them? Everett used to spend valuable time with his mother. One fine day, his mother gifted him a children's book called The Travels of Monarch X. That book, which told how monarch butterflies migrated to Central America, opened the world of science to the eager young collector. Everett had always been curious to learn new things and had a sharp mind. His mother used to encourage him to learn. She used to take him out for trips to learn more about new things. Everett, who was nicknamed Richie by his mother, was her whole life and support system after his father died. When he was in school, his mother would find him some task for learning. He used to like the learning work that his mother used to give him, as that was what he wanted to do, learn about more and more new things. By the time he was in second class, he had collected all the 25 species of butterflies that were found in his neighborhood. At the end, after reading the book, The Travels of Monarch X, he was inspired to learn more about them. The book told him and explained to him how the monarch butterflies migrated to Central America. This is how he met Dr. Frederick Oakart of the University of Toronto, Canada. Everett's mother wrote to Dr. Oakart, and soon Everett was attaching light adhesive tags to the wings of monarchs. Anyone who found a tagged adhesive tags to the wings of monarchs got to know more about them. They would also send the butterflies that were tagged to Dr. Oakart. This is how Dr. Oakart collected the tags sent by the children. The butterfly collecting season around reading lasted 6 weeks in late summer. So the next step for Everett was to raise a flock of butterflies. He would catch female monarch that laid eggs, and raised them in his basement through their life cycle, from egg to caterpillar to pupa to adult butterfly. This is how he started raising flock of butterflies and tagged those butterflies, and the tags were collected by Dr. Oakart. Eventually, I began to lose interest in tagging butterflies, he said. It's tedious and there is not much feedback. Everett said. In all the time I did it, he laughed. Only two butterflies I had tagged were recaptured, and they were not more than 75 miles from where I lived. So now, gradually, he was losing interest in tagging those butterflies. How did he invent something new, and how did he learn more about Viceroy butterflies? Read further to know how Everett became passionate to come up with new research work. When he was in seventh grade, he got a hint of what real science is when he entered a county science fair and lost. It was really a sad feeling to sit there and not get anything while everybody else had won something. This is what Everett said. He wanted to win the prize. He thought that his work was extraordinary, that would win him recognition. But unfortunately, he could not win anything. He lost the competition. He could not win any position. But still, he did not stop doing his research work. He carried on with his work passionately. He participated in many competitions, and this is how he gained knowledge. The subject I knew most about was the insect work I had been doing in the past several years. So he wrote to Dr. Ukart for ideas, and back came a stack of suggestions for experiments. Those kept Everett busy all through high school and led to prize projects in county and international science fairs. So this is how he used to share his research work with Dr. Watt and learn more from him. And finally, when he participated in many projects, he won the international science fair competition. For his eighth grade project, Everett tried to find the cause of a viral disease that killed nearly all monarch caterpillars and that used to take place every few years. Everett thought the disease might be carried by a beetle, as many monarch caterpillars used to die every year, every few years. Everett thought that it would be a nice idea to learn more about disease, and then he concluded that it might be carried by a beetle. So they were infected due to the beetle, and this is why the caterpillars lost their lives. The next year, his science fair project was testing the theory that viceroy butterflies copy monarchs. The theory was that viceroys look like monarchs because monarchs don't taste good to birds. Now, this is something new that he had learned. As he continued with his research work in his second year in high school, Richard began the research that led to his discovery of an unknown insect hormone. Indirectly, it also led to his new theory on the life of cells. So, stepping on the staircase of success, he failed several times, but he never gave up. In his senior year, he went a step further. He grew cells from a monarch's wing in a culture and showed that the cells would divide and develop into normal butterfly wing scales only if they were fed the hormone from the gold spots. That project won first place for zoology at the international fair. So this is what we learn about his research work, that gradually from one project to other and so on and so forth, he kept on learning new things, and this led him to discover so many new aspects that helped him come up with different conclusions. Everett went back to the laboratory of Department of Agriculture and did more work on the hormone from the gold spots. Using the laboratory's sophisticated instruments, he was able to identify the hormone's chemical structure. A year and a half later, during his junior year, Everett got the idea for his new theory about cell life. It came while he was looking at X-ray photos of the chemical structure of a hormone. So, while studying the X-ray photos, he came up with something new, an idea that helped him come up with a new theory about cell life. He worked in the laboratory where he could use sophisticated instruments to identify the hormone's chemical structure. And now, when he was studying about the structure of hormone, he also learned about the theory of cell life. Everett and his college roommate James R. Wong worked all that night drawing pictures and constructing plastic models of molecules to show how it could happen. Together, they later wrote the paper that explained the theory. He was accompanied by James Wong, who was his roommate in the college, and they worked hard together to come up with the new research work. And ultimately, when they were successful, they had published the research work and tried to explain their theory. Richard would always give that extra effort, Mr. Weir said. What pleased me was here was this person who put in 3 or 4 hours at night doing debate research, besides doing all his research with butterflies and his other interests. So here, Mr. Weir, who was a great scientist, talked about Richard. He got to know that Richard was interested in learning about new things, and that helped him come up with new research work. As he worked on different projects, apart from his rich research work that is related to butterflies and other insects, and other interests that he had had during his childhood days, like collecting rocks, studying about the rocks, then staring at the stars, and learning about astronomy, he had reached the point in his life where he could now work on anything and come up with new theories. So people started appreciating him. Surprisingly, no one who knew him, that is Richard Everett, was also aware about the discoveries that used to take place in the field of science by reading the articles written by Richard Abbott. Abbott went on to become a graduate student researcher at Harvard Medical School. There, he began doing experiments to test his theory. So he was interested in the field of science, and later on, he became a great researcher. Richard was competitive, Mr. Weir continued, but not in a bad sense. He explained. Richard wasn't interested in winning for winning's sake or winning to get a prize. Rather, he was winning because he wanted to do the best job he could. For the right reasons, he wanted to be the best. So, this is what we get to know about Richard. He did not do anything to win prizes, although he was disappointed in when he could not win anything during his school days. But when he grew up, he was interested in learning, and that is what helped him win different prizes and achieve great heights.